Very good morning to you. Look, children are, of course, the most tragic victim in this whole crisis, aren't they? Totally innocent and unable to flee themselves. Just bring us up to date on the very huge numbers of children who have gone missing from the country, whether that be on the border or from some of the cities under siege.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. So here in Ukraine, there's about 100,000 plus orphan children before the war. It's the highest per capita in the world. And of course, all of these children are very vulnerable, and it's complicated. Now they need to be evacuated, especially from these hot zones, as we call it, and over to more safe areas in the country, in the west, here around Lviv. In terms of how many children are kind of missing, that's a big problem. I mean, it's a war zone, and it's a little bit of a chaos. The current figures we're hearing in terms of missing children is around 10,000 that are accounted for. What kind of situation they are in, it's very difficult to say. Whether or not they are just kind of lost in the system, not processed properly, and not been the government hasn't been able to kind of follow where they have landed. In some cases, they end up in Poland, get absorbed by the Polish welfare system or child care system. In other cases, they might actually end up in human trafficking networks or with other people with malicious intent. So there's a big effort now in doing this process correctly and ensuring that the children are all accounted for, and only in certain extreme circumstances they actually need to leave the country. And if they do, that effort needs to be led and coordinated by the Ukrainian government so that the children can be accounted for and
Martin,
remain within the.
That's interesting you say that, Martin, that, in relation to the orphans specifically, it should only be in extreme circumstances that you think they should leave the country. And I suppose that's because, in the heat of war, with administrative buildings being targeted by the Russians, it is very, very hard to verify people coming in from other countries, obviously with hopefully good intentions, but hard. I mean, we've taken a 50 here in the UK, but, that's just a small fraction. And of course, all the paperwork has gone through for that. But an incredibly challenging situation for the authorities in Ukraine.
Indeed, very challenging. And I mean, the way we're working here now, we're working on the ground with Aerial Recovery Group, a highly specialized American NGO that is, ex-military forces, and are able to go into these hot zones, take them out. We're working in coordination with the military state administration and another organization called New Horizons, who's working with the Child Protection Services. So we just do the inland from dangerous zone to safe zone transportation, and then the proper government here process the children. And in coordination, I guess, with other European governments, they will be able to then take the children out of the country if there is a need for that. And then that way they can account for all of them. I believe also there's a mechanism in place where they intend for the children to have some kind of status, political asylum or whatever, so they can remain Ukrainian citizens, even if they're transferred over to Poland or whichever other country. And once, hopefully, this war quiets down, they can bring those children back and they will remain Ukrainian.
Yeah, well, look, what you're doing is absolutely amazing. We know that, children are incredibly vulnerable during war, but of course the scars that they'll suffer, the emotional and mental scars, will be carried with them for the rest of their life. It is such an important job you're doing. Thank you very much for coming on and talking to us about it all.